Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Grassley. Ranking Member Klobuchar.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I apologize, Mr. Smith, for being late, and I thank our other members for being here. I've had a kind of a messed up day. I went to the tariff argument at the Supreme Court, which was very interesting and good, and it went a lot longer than anyone thought. You can't exactly jump up in the middle of the Supreme Court argument and that put off the rest of the schedule, but I do want to welcome you and your wife. There she is, and your children, your son-in-law, your granddaughter, and I also wanted to recognize Farm Credit Administration Board Chairman Jeffrey Hall, and thank Senator Ernst for introducing you. We had such a good meeting a while back, and I just want to point out the importance of rural development right now. If we do come upon a moment where we can pass some kind of a farm bill, I think this is going to be one of the big reasons why we should do it. I know Senator Welch asked about staff losses in Vermont that we've seen all over the country. That's something really important to me, and we talked about this, about you working to try to build up the staff again. And we also have some issues, as I know you've heard of, with some of the broadband, electric co-ops, some of the projects that are going on that we want to make sure happen. Co-ops in Minnesota supply nearly a quarter of our electricity. We're one of the biggest states, as we've talked about, for electric co-ops, which I love. They serve almost 2 million Minnesotans. So I will hope that you will work with me on those projects. And as we discussed last week, we also care a lot about high-speed internet, both out of the Commerce Committee flow of money and then also out of USDA. We discussed rural health care, child care, markets, and the like. So I just have a few questions here. The first is we have most of us on this committee have worked across the aisle to improve broadband access. The Reconnect Loan and Grant Program has delivered high-quality internet to rural areas, often partnering with electric and telephone co-ops. As Undersecretary, you'll have a great deal of discretion over broadband funds at the USDA. Do you believe this program should prioritize speeds like those available in urban areas? And how do you plan to ensure these programs are accessible to rural electric co-ops and other small rural providers?
Thanks for the question, Senator. Yes, I do think it should have the same priority as urban broadband. We should have the same access to connectivity. It is the key for rural America to stay connected with the rest of the country, with the world. We have had success with Reconnect. The main thing we're going to look at is, do we have the resources for Reconnect? And that's entirely up to you in Congress, where those resources are allocated. But I can tell you that in rural development, we have that footprint in rural in rural America that I think we can deliver.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of projects out there already awarded, energy projects that have been frozen, and I hope that you will work with us to look at those projects. Some of them, interestingly enough, in Minnesota involve neighboring states of North Dakota and South Dakota, I think Iowa. Some of these projects, if you would be willing to look with us at them, they involve the electric grid, they involve all kinds of things that both Democrat and Republican senators are interested. When I looked at the list, I'm like, whoa, for the ones that were frozen in Minnesota. So I hope you'll be willing to look at those with us.
We should all work together for that, yes.
Okay, very good. High blend biofuel infrastructure. Senator Ernst and I have worked on this at length and been successful in passing some things into law. Do you commit to reopening funding opportunities for high blend biofuel infrastructure and making sure the funds are spent on that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that's wonderful. The housing, what are your affordable housing preservation strategies to keep existing properties in USDA programs?
One thing I think, Senator, that become obvious to me, I had no idea the breadth of and scope of rural development before I started looking into it. And I didn't realize how much they're involved in housing. Now, we probably can't cure the problems of the high cost of building a new home or the high cost of major repairs, but we do offer grants. We do offer loans and loan guarantees to those parties that qualify at subsidized interest rates. So it's one step closer to affordability of rural housing. One thing I do hear from some states is the whole regulatory process, the permitting and the licensing of the contractors and all that becomes almost prohibitive and does add to the cost, can add to the cost of that house maybe in a town of 1,200, which doesn't make sense in fitting in with possibly the federal regs. So I would strongly encourage looking at somewhat of a deregulative structure to make sure that those homes can be built in the most efficient manner possible. The other thing, though, Senator, I'd like to talk about is that 88 programs. I've lived in a rural community almost my whole life, not realizing the depth and scope of those programs. I think our visibility needs to be improved in rural America. I've talked to my Deputy Undersecretary Neil Robbins about that. He comes from the publication business and has some ideas on where we can get that word out, that there are programs in rural development, subsidized programs that allow low and moderate income people to invest in their dream of living in their own home.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you very much. I see my colleagues are here to ask questions. I'll save some time on the clock here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.